Guys, so today we'll be conducting the day 11 session on Docker. So like last session, right? In the previous session, right, we had discussed about Docker networking, right? So what are the different different types of networking we have, and how we can actually set up a bridge network, right? How to create a bridge network and all, right? And how to do a port mapping also we understood very clearly, right? How to create a port mapping and how to connect. So there are basically three methods are there, right, to do a network connectivity, right? So those things and all we discussed, and we discussed on some of the examples, right? How exactly Docker networks work. So that's how we completed our Docker network session, right? So today we have a Docker Swarm actually. So Docker Swarm is also one of the very important topic actually in Docker. Okay, so here what happened, right? All kind of a no real scenario, like suppose you want to deploy uh, the containerization in the production environment, right? So suppose the customer or they are using the Docker as a tool for implementing or for deploying the application in the production side. So what is the feature? With what feature you can actually make your application high availability? So that you can achieve through the Docker Swarm actually. Okay. So now let me open image paint. Okay. So see here. Uh, so we'll be discussing about the Docker Swarm, right? So very important feature, as I said, and even like when it comes to interview perspective, right? Few of the questions you might, you will get from even Docker Swarm also. Okay, so you can expect some one or two questions from the Docker Swarm. Okay, so now, so what is a Docker Swarm basically, or what is the feature of Docker Swarm? Now, for example, suppose we'll take a scenario, we'll understand like how Docker Swarm comes into the picture, or what is the requirement for the Docker Swarm. So we'll try to understand that thing. So now you know that actually whenever I want to have a Docker container setup, actually basically I need a machine, right? So I need a VM, right? I need a VM. So where what I will do, I will try to install the Docker package. You know that very well now. So I need to install the Docker package. After the package is installed, you need to start the Docker service, and as well as you need to enable it. So once you start and enable it, this machine becomes a Docker host. So that we know very well, right? It becomes a Docker host. Now, assume that we have a very important web applications, or you have hosted a web application here. Okay, so you have hosted a web application here. So you have hosted a web application here. Okay, now assume that actually this web application is only one application which has been running. It means that you are running an application through a container. So basically, you have built an image, and through that image, you have created a container. So this container is up and running. Now, what is happening that whenever the customer wants some kind of a service from that container or whatever the application which is running in that web application, basically what happened that he will be provided an IP address to access that application, right? So he will provide the IP address, as well as he will provide some kind of a port to access this application. So that's how you can able to access an application. Now assume that actually a lot of load comes onto your website. It means that it's not one or two customers. There are hundreds of customers are there who will be hitting the same IP address or the same URL for accessing that application. So in that case, what happened, right? This application or the container which is running, it might go down, or it might become very slow, or it will not be responsive. So in that case, what you will do, you'll tend to do that. You will try to increase the containers. It means that you are trying to increase the scalability of it. It means that you are going to do an auto scaling. So whatever the application which is running a container, what you will do, you will create some more containers like this. Assume that actually you are running some 100 containers like this, right? You're getting some 100 containers. You have created some 100 containers in a host machine. So each and every container which is running, right, it is a replica, right? It means that it's the same application. Suppose you are running some google.com application, the same application, web application, will be running even in 100 containers also. It will be same application. So now here, why we have scaled up from 1 to 100, because like your availability of the application should always be. That means that out of some 100 which you are running, suppose assume that some 50 containers go down. Some 50 containers go down. Still what happened, right? 50 containers are still running. So it means that still what happened, the client or the customer can still able to access that application. That's how it is, right? Now what is happening, that every container what you have scaled up, it has its own IP address. We know very well, right? It has its own IP address. Now what is happening is that whenever any customer or uh, any customer, right, he hits, what it does, basically he hits he hits to this container. It means that basically you have some kind of a IP address here. Assume that something like 10 dot 10 dot, sorry, 10.0.0.1, some IP address. This is basically a ETH0 interface, and this application all are web application, and basically it will be running the port number 80. So what happened, right, the customer, what happened, that he will try to hit this IP address. So what he will give while accessing this application, he might give like this 10.0.0.1 colon 80, like this he'll give. So when he hits this IP address, basically what is happening, right? Inside the machine or inside the host machine, you have something known as a Ingress load balancer. You have a Ingress load balancer, Ingress LB load balancer, something like that. Now what is happening, that the traffic comes to this, the traffic or the you are hitting to this IP address with the port number 80. What is happening, that the packet comes and the networks goes and it will go to the Ingress load balancer, and from the Ingress load balancer, what happens, right? The request gets shared or request goes to the container. This is how normally it happens. Okay, so this is how it happens, like this basically. So now what is happening is that you're having an application and you're scaled up the application to many more containers, like 100 containers. So that's what your requirement, because you need to achieve a high availability of your application. And what is happening is that whenever a customer want to access the application, he basically hits to that IP address, and that IP address, whatever you have, it is basically a Docker host IP address with some port number, as I said, something like an 80. Now what is happening inside it, you have something known as a load balancer, which is an Ingress load balancer, and from your ETH0 host, right, the packet flows to the Ingress load balancer, and from here what happened, right, the network will reach or it get distributed to the each and every different containers. This is the actual scenario what happens actually. Now assume that now so this is a single host machine where you are running some 100 containers, right? And yeah, of course, what I said, right, if some number of containers goes down, still the application availability will be there. Suppose assume that here only one customer is hitting an IP address. Assume that there are some 100 customers hits or some 500 customers hits the same IP address. So what happened, right? The traffic comes, the 500 request comes to this ETH0. So that for ETH0, it is going to send that request to the Ingress load balance. And this what Ingress load balancer does, it is going to basically the divide that all those 500 requests to the containers. So that's what the load balancer comes to the picture, Ingress. So Ingress, if you ask me why you have introduced the Ingress load balancer here, so what I can say at this point of time, that by default what happens, Ingress load balancer comes along with whenever you are implementing a Docker Swarm. That's what I would say. Okay, not more than that. So it means that by default, Ingress load balancer will come to the picture whenever you initialize, right, the Docker using the Docker Swarm. Okay, now the scenario is here is that actually assume that okay, these containers are running fine, we are happy, even the containers goes down, there are many more containers which are running, still you will get the service. Now assume that the whole machine itself will go down. It means that there was something happened that where there was a crash in a machine itself. the whole machine or the operating system itself will go down. Then what is happening is that even though you are running hundreds or thousands of containers, if the machine itself will go down, you cannot give any service to your client. So when your client hits to that IP address, basically this machine has gone down, it will not proceed with that request. It means that the request will fail now, right? So that's the reason what is happening is that you need to achieve a high availability of the applications. So to do that, we have a feature known as a Docker Swarm actually. Earlier, I mean, during very initial stage of the Docker when development, right, this Docker Swarm was not there actually. So what happened, right? It was very difficult in the production side. Suppose in the production side, they have deployed the Dockerization container, and in only one machine in the production, they used to run many containers or only one container. If the machine itself was going down due to some reason, maybe it could be an OS crash, or it could be storage crash, or it could be network issue. So because of that reason, when the machine used to go down, even the application which was running, right, which was hosted, was also goes down. So in a production environment, you cannot allow such things to happen, right? Because your application should always be high availability application. It should always serve the service whenever any client requests for the some service. So that was a case, and Docker had the problem in deploying the Dockerization in the production server. Then they understood the scenario, and what happened, right? They introduced this Docker Swarm actually. So it means that the Docker community or the Docker people, Docker NC company, they started working on, so that you have to make the application. Sorry, we have to make the Docker more robust, so that actually you can run multiple containers at a time under the multiple different nodes actually. So what they did, right? So they introduced the Docker Swarm. Now, what is Docker Swarm basically? So Docker Swarm says that actually, suppose you have some n number of machines. Suppose I'll have some 4 machines like this. Sorry. Right. Suppose you have some 4 machines, sir. So I'll create 4 machines. So these 4 machines, it could be either in the VM, or it could be either in VMware, or it could be in the cloud like Google Cloud or AWS Cloud or anywhere, or the Azure Cloud, right? So this 4 machines, it could be in anywhere actually. So basically what they say that actually that now so I will create some 4 machines, sir. After creating a 4 machine, what I have to do is basically I have to install the Docker package here. In every node, I need to install the Docker package. Docker package need to be installed, and after the package is installed, you need to initialize the doc. You need to start the Docker service, as well as you need to enable it. So the same thing you need to do in all the node actually. That is required. So because here you are creating a 4 node actually. So you need to install the Docker package, start the Docker package, and enable it. Same thing you have to do even in the 3rd node also. So Docker package has to be installed, and you need to start the Docker service, as well as you need to enable it. So that's a basic requirement actually. Docker package installation, then you need to Docker start, and you need to enable the service. Now you know that whenever we have a machine allocated, as I said, like this machine can be anywhere. It could be in your Azure, or it could be in OpenStack, or it could be in your AWS, or anywhere, or it could be even in your VMware also. Suppose I have a VMware, and I've installed the VMware client, and I can even create 4 machines, 4 servers actually. Now you know that actually for each and every machine you need an IP address. So that is a basic requirement, right? Suppose like I have an IP address like 172.0.0.1. So similarly, I have one more IP address. So basically, the IP address should be under the same subnet, sir. You cannot have a different IP address or different subnet in this across these 4 machines. Actually, you should have the IP address in the same subnet. So that is a basic requirement. Now, it means that basically this all these machines are reachable. It means that this machine can ping each other. It could be that there could be some kind of a router or switches where it is configured in such a way that you can actually communicate between one machine to other machine. So it means that because the IP addresses fall under the same subnet, you can configure in such a way that it could be reachable each other. So basically here you are creating a kind of a clustered node, actually, a clustered node. It means that a collection of node, okay, in one clustered form. So that's what we are doing it here. And now here, what you're doing here, basically that here, what you have to do means here, the Docker swarm is not been still activated. You need to initialize the Docker swarm. How to initialize a Docker swarm? If I see in a command line, if I want to tell you, you have to run a command known as a Docker swarm init. We'll execute this part later. So this is a command to initialize the Docker swarm. So basically what you're doing in a clustered node, you have to make one node as a manager. You have to make one node as a manager and other node as a worker nodes, actually. Clear? It means that if this machine or if this server becomes a master, or you can even call it as a manager. Manage is a term which we use in our Docker swarm. So I'll call it as a master, and this all other node will be called as a worker node. Suppose like something like I will say worker one. Okay, then I will say worker two, and then I will say worker three. So here, any one of the node, actually, you need to call it as a master node, sir. You need to make it as, you need to configure as a master node or the manager. Rest other node will be called as a worker node, or you can even say it as a node also. Okay. Now, the thing is like here, now whenever I want to achieve running some 100 containers into this cluster, how I can divide me. Suppose I have 100 container, what I can do, I can actually make it some 20 container running under the master node, okay, some 30 containers running under the worker one, and again some 20 containers running under the worker two, something like this, and some 30 containers running under the worker 3. It means that basically I have the whole 100 containers of whatever I was running in a single node earlier, it has been divided across these 4 machines, actually. Okay. Now what is happening is that, so it means that here you are running some 20 containers, here 30, here 20, here 30. So totally it will be around 100 containers we are running. So we have divided across these 4 machines. Now what I'm doing it here is that basically here I have initialized the Docker swarm. So what do you mean by initializing a Docker swarm is, here I'm making sure that any one node become a master or the manager and the other node becomes the worker node, actually. And here I have created a kind of a clustered form where what is happening is that always the containers will, what are the n number of containers which you are scaling, it gets divided across these nodes. Now here, now what I want to say here is that the master node also is one of the node where the containers are running. So you can make sure that some of the containers can run under the master also. If you want, if you say that Rajesh, I don't want any of the containers to run on the master, only all the containers, 100 containers has to be run under the only onto the worker node, you can make sure that none of the containers starts working in master. It means that all the 100 containers will be divided across these 3 nodes like that. But what happened as a user, whenever we are making sure that when you are initializing your Docker swarm, we'll also make sure that also that master node or the manager node also become our or also act like a worker node. So why we are doing that? Because assume that here what is happening, that this all these 4 nodes are there and 100 containers are running. Assume that this worker node 2 or worker node 3 goes down, this machine goes down. Now what happened, right? Whatever the containers, around 30 containers which are running, right, these 30 containers will be shifted across these nodes, actually the left out 3 nodes. So it means that whatever the 30 nodes we have, 30 containers which are running here, right, once as soon as this machine goes down, suppose assume that the machine goes down, the machine get crashed. So what is happening, whatever this 30 containers which are running, right, that will get shifted to the other working node, or even it can even get shifted to the master node also. Anything could be possible. Okay, so wherever there is a less load is or less containers are there, what happened there? What happened? The Docker Swarm will try to recreate this 30 nodes here. So it means that this machine goes down. What is happening? That the containers will get recreated here in the other nodes. Okay. Now, so why it is happening is that because like you are maintaining a desired state. It means that you want 100 containers always to be running under across this cluster node. So it means that if any one node goes down, all those other containers which were running on that container will get moved or will get recreated in other node. Okay. Now assume now what happened now this is fine. Assume that one more thing happens that actually even the worker 2 also goes down. Assume that just we are assuming. So then what is happening that all the contents which are running in the worker 2 now will also get shifted to between the worker 1 and as well as between master. Similarly, what happened that even this machine worker 1 also goes down. Assume that even whatever the content which are running in a worker 1, it will get shifted to the master node. It means that because master is also working as acting as a worker also, that's a reason there is a recreation of this container is happening in the master. It means that now when all these three machine went down, it means that all the 100 containers were running under the master node itself. Now assume that you have a master and you say that, okay, Rajesh, I don't want any of the containers to be run under the master. It means that you want to make the master free. Okay. Now what is happening? All those 100 containers were running in the worker 1, worker 2, and worker 3. Now assume that the same scenario that worker 3 goes down. Whatever the contents which are running in the worker 3, it get divided between worker 1 and worker 2, because like master you have not make it as a worker node also. It means that the recreation of the new containers in the master will not happen when the worker 3 goes down. Correct? So similarly, what happened that if the worker 2 goes down, all the contents which are running, it will get shifted to the worker 1. Now, if the worker 1 also goes down, it means all the three missions goes down. Worker 1, worker 2, worker 1, worker 2, and worker 3. It means that these contents which are running, the 100 contents will not get recreated in the master, because you have made the master, you have made sure that the master doesn't act like a worker node. So in that scenario, what is happening that the whole application goes down. So it means that you will not be able to give any kind of a service. So that's what happened, right? Always, whenever you're working under the Docker Swarm, you will also make sure that master also act like a worker node. It means that some of the contents or whatever you want to create, it can be recreated even under the master also, like that. That's how they do it. So this is one of the important questions, though they might ask in an interview, like whether you will make it as a master, as a working node or not. What is an advantage of making it a working node? So to say, if other worker nodes becomes down, assume that all the three worker node or whatever the worker nodes are goes down, still what happened, the containers will get shifted or recreated under the master node. Still the service can be served actually. That's what. Clear, sir, till here? So till here you are clear? Any doubts you have, you can ask me now itself. If you see the practical, we'll understand very well, but this is the scenario. This is what the Docker Swarm. Okay, sir. Let me know, sir, if you have any doubts, or else I will proceed.
We can proceed.
Okay, yeah. So now what is happening that here, so again, what is happening that you know now that in every node, yeah, one more thing I want to tell you here. Now what is happening that here you have a master and here you have a working node. Clear? Now what is happening that master is having a full control over the Docker Swarm. It means that whatever the commands you are running, it means that suppose you want to delegate some work to the worker 1, worker 2, or worker 3, that control has been taken care of the master itself. Okay. So worker nodes doesn't have any control or accessibility. It can only allow to create a container, but you want to do some many more operations that the worker node cannot do by itself. It needs a master assistance. So that's what you have on master node. Now tomorrow you might say that Rajesh, master node itself will go down. Then what's the problem? Then what is happening that how you can delegate a responsibility to the other working node? It is not possible. So that's the reason what happened, right? In the real scenario, what will happen that you will create more than one master node. It means that you will make this as a master node. Okay, you will make as this machine also as a master node. Okay, So there are two master nodes are there actually. But what is happening is that even what happened, if you are aware in the clustered environment, right? If you having two master nodes, you cannot make both the master node as a working master node. It means that you have to make only one. It means that out of these two master nodes, suppose you say that, okay, Rajesh, this even this my IP address 172.0.0.2, even I am making this also as a master node. Yeah, you can make it as a master node, but the thing is that in the clustered environment, there is something as an election happens. So whoever leads it, actually he becomes a master node. So under these two machines, suppose you are making even this machine also master node, you need to. So what happened that the election happens, and then these machines become a master, and this will be as a this will be also be as a master node only. But what is happening that this machine will not be providing any service as of now. It will be acting like a work node, but even whatever the master can do, even this machine can also do the 172.0.0.2, right? Even this machine can also act like that. Similarly, what is happening is that in the real scenario, what happened that these three machines, 01, 02, and 03, these three machine, you will make it as a master. So what happened that ultimately when you make it as a master, what Docker Swarm does, there is an internally there will some kind of an election happens between three of this machine. It means that between these three machine, they will decide who will become an actual master, who will become a main master. Now what happened, right? Internally what happened, Docker Swarm, internally there is some algorithm which will be running. That algorithm will decide which becomes a master. So obviously out of this three mission, one mission will become master. Okay, this becomes master. So this will be called as a master node. So whatever the changes, whatever the commands which you run in the master node, even you, what happened, right? Even you can run here in from this machine also, even from this machine also, because even these two machines were act like a master. So whatever the changes, whatever the configuration which you are doing, right, that will get reflected here also. Okay, so why we are doing this? Because like ultimately, if suppose this machine, the main master, if it goes down, actually, sorry, if this goes down, if this machine goes down, then what happened, right? There are two more nodes are there which act like a master. Again, there is an election happen between these two nodes, and one becomes a master and other becomes a other becomes a others becomes as a worker or a master itself. And then like what happened, right? Whatever the service you need to provide, that will be taken care by this node, because this big node becomes now has become a master now. So that's what happened, right? Always in a Docker Swarm environment, one becomes a master and other becomes a worker node. Clear, sir? Now, this is what scenario is. Now here, even like even here inside the each and every node, again you have the same thing, sir. You have an ingress load balancer. You have an ingress load balancer. You have an ingress load balancer. I think I have to reduce its size. Ingress load balancer. So you might get that out where this English load balancer is coming to the picture and all. So just you can understand as of now that by default there will be an English load balancer. Okay, so English load balancer will be there, and now you know that actually like there is some customer. Okay, okay. So let me remove this. Okay. So now what is happening is that suppose assume that there is one customer sitting here. This is some customer sitting here. Assume that there's some customer sitting here, and now what is happening that he want to try to access this application. So what is happening that he will be provided this IP address 172.0.0.1 colon 80. So what he will do, he will just type like this here in his browser, right? 172.0.0.1 colon 80 or something 8000 he will hit with that port actually. So what is happening that the request comes to the master, or request comes to this machine, because this is IP address rules. And then later what happened, right? The traffic goes to the ingress load balancer. From the ingress load balancer, it reaches to the container like this. Even similarly here also, suppose the customer, he hits the IP, it means that he hits the IP like this, same port actually, or some different port, or it should be same port actually. Okay, he hits with this IP address. What happened, right? The traffic comes here, and the traffic goes to the increased load balance, and from the increased load balancer, it goes and it gets equally divided across the containers like this. Similarly, like this here, the traffic comes here, and the traffic goes to load balancer. From here, it goes like this. That's how it happens, sir. Now, so this is the internal load balancer, increased load balancer, which we'll be discussing. And I would say that the same load balancer will come to the Kubernetes also. So when we are learning the Kubernetes, you will come across with this increased load balancer very much. Okay. Now here, so so here what is happening that, but when you are giving, see, when you are, whenever you want to give the service to the end client customer, do you think that you will share all these IP addresses to the client and say that, okay, hit with this port number, hit with the IP with the port number, right? This is not the right way, right? This is what not given, right? This is not the correct way, right? So what happened right here, what you will do, basically what you will do a setup here basically you will provide, or you will set up one load balancer here. So here you will set up one load balancer, sir. So here you will set up one load balancer. It could be any load balancer. It could be you might have come across with the F5 load balancer, or else NetScaler load balancer, right? We might have come across with many of the load balancer. Even like AWS also has its own internal load balancer. Azure also has a load balancer, or you can have any kind of a load balancer, right? So load balancer, basically what happened, it had its own IP address, right? I mean, basically you will provide some kind of a public IP address, right? Suppose something 54.172.80.16, something, some IP address, right? Now, what is happening is that actually here, what is happening that this IP address, right? The IP address, you have a DNS server. You have a DNS server. This is a DNS server actually. DNS server. Here, what happened that you will maintain a record. So, what is a record you maintain here inside the DNS? You maintain a record that, suppose if some user is hitting www. Something rajeshsingh.com. Okay, so the record is a. Here you have to what is it? You have to give the IP address 54.172.80.16. So this is the IP address of your load balancer. Correct, sir? So this is what the entry you made under the DNS. I'm sorry, I'm making it here. I could have made it somewhere else. So it is taking the space. But what I'm trying to tell you is that under the DNS, you have given the domain name rajeshsingh.com, and you have created a record EA, and here you have provided the load balancer IP address under here. It means that whenever any customer, suppose assume that he's a customer or he's a client actually, he's a client actually, and he is what he's doing, right? He is hitting under his browser he will just type like something like this, www.rajeshsingh.com. So as soon as you hit it, what happened, right? The networks, the packet, it reaches to the DNS because it has to resolve, right? Because this is the domain name, it has to resolve to the IP address. It comes here. So under the DNS, there is an entry made under the record is that whoever is www.rajeshsingh.com, it has to proceed. The packet has to redirect to this IP address, and this IP address is but the load balance IP address. So what happened? The request goes to this load balancer like this. And here what happened, basically whenever you are configured the load balancer, under the load balancer, what you will do, here inside the load balancer, you will add all these IP addresses, 172.0.0.1 under this, 172.0.0.2, 172.0.3, and 172.0.0.3 and 4, whatever it says. All this 4 IP address you will be adding under the record, and you will be creating a kind of a rule here inside the load balancer. Guys, I think some noise is coming. I have to relocate my location. Just hold a second. Okay, let me stop. Let me just mute it. I'll relocate to other location. Okay. Sorry, there is some work going on here. I think in the neighbor, that's what they are doing, some kind of a drilling activity. Too much noise coming. Okay.
No problems.
Fine. So what I was trying to tell here that actually under this load balancer, right, you will be adding all these IP addresses of all these 4 machines actually, and here you'll be setting a rule also, right? So it means that whenever the load comes or whenever the traffic comes, like how it will has to distribute the traffic. So assume that actually here there's only one customer who is hitting this rajeshsingh.com. Assume that actually there are 500 customers are there who are hitting the same same URL, domain URL, rajeshsingh.com. Now what is happening that all the requests will come to the DNS. From the DNS, it will get the name resolution, understand, okay, this is IP address 54.17.80.116. So the request will go to the load balancer. From the load balancer, it understand, okay, some 500 requests have come here, right? Some 500 requests have come here. So basically what happened, right? It will divide these 500 requests across this all the 4 nodes. Like it will divide something like this. 125 requests will come to here. 125 requests will come to here. 125 requests will come to here. Like that, it will divide. It will divide like this. Now again, what happened, that this 125 requests will come to the Ingress load balancer, right? It will come to the Ingress load balancer, and again this 125 request will be divided across all those 30 contents which are running in this machine. Similarly here, 125 comes to this load balancer, Ingress load balancer. Here you are running some 20 containers. So all this 125 requests will be divided, or it will be balanced between this 20 running containers. Similarly like that here also. So I hope you got the point, right? What I'm saying here, correct? So it means that the whole traffic will get divided across this all the 4 nodes. And here what happened, that one node will be acting as a master and others are working as a worker node. Clear, sir? So in that way, what happened, that here you are maintaining the high availability of the application. So it means that at any point of time your application will not go down. So that is what the actual scenario for us to implement the Docker Swarm. Clear, sir, till here? Because this is very important, and they will definitely put forth some few questions to you guys. So I mean, whoever go for interview, right, they will ask, particularly in the Docker Swarm, some 1 or 2 questions they might ask you. Clear? Okay.
Yes, sir, I'm good.
Okay. So let us see the practical things, sir. It's very important for us to go through practicals. And in the practical session also, what we will do, we'll take 4 machines actually. Okay. And in the 4 machines, you will make one as a master or the manager, and the other as a worker node. Will do that. Okay. So to do this actually, so we can choose all these 4 machines to be created in AWS itself. So AWS is the best for us because we already have an AWS account, right? So in that case, we can create a AWS machine, or else if we had a VMware we had we could have created 4 virtual machines like this. But anyhow, so let us log into the AWS, so console.aws.com, console.aws.amazon.com. So this is what the URL for your console. So I'll just log into the machine. Okay, I think some difficult, right? 2SS8D7. So here I'll go to the EC2 machine. Okay. So let me check. I don't have any node here. Okay. So let me do one thing. Let me launch the instance. So I need a 4 machines, right? That's what we saw in the diagram. I need a 4 machines. So basically what I will do, I will try to assign the same this one machine. Amazon Linux itself, I will take it actually. So I'll just select this one. And I need to select the T2 micro. So I'll select this T2 micro, but that is sufficient for me. And I'll go to the next. Here what happened, how many instances you need? I need a 4 instance actually. So I have to give 4 here. Come down and just say add. Don't do anything, just go to the next. So here go to the next. Here what happened, you already have an existing group. So I am to select this and I'll go with the review launch and then say launch. So here what happened that it is asking for you to provide the key actually. So I'm using this Docker key. So and I'll say launch. Okay, sir. So here I'll go to the view instance. So I'll see that I have launched these 4 nodes. So what I will do, basically I'll give some name here. So I'll say it as a master something node, master node. What happened? Master node. So I'll say this. Okay. What happened? So I've given a master node and all the rest other 3, right? I will give it as a worker node. So I'll say something like worker node 1, and this is worker node 2, and this is worker node 3. Worker node 3. Okay. So here the same thing, whatever we have in a diagram, right? Worker 1, worker 2, worker 3 as a master. So I just assign this name. So basically, so let me check. I think all have come in the running mode. Okay. Now you know very well that actually now I want to connect or I want to log into this machine. So I'll just select it like this and I will go to the connect, right? And here I will just choose this. But what happened, instead of doing this, actually, let me do one thing. Let me do in the other way now. Let me log into all these 4 machines through a putty actually. Okay, through a putty. And you know, in my download directory or in my download folder, sorry, I have a file known as a docker.pem. This is my PEM key. Now, whenever you are logging into the server to the putty, always to the putty, you need to provide the PPK file actually. Okay. So let me open the notepad. So today we are having a day 11 session. So what happened? Putty always required the PPK file actually. Okay. So basically what happened that I need to have, instead of PEM, I need to have a PPK file. So to create a PPK file, sir, already what happened, right? You have to download a software known as a PuttyGen actually. So you can go to the Google and you can just say like this, PuttyGen download, like this you give. So you can actually download it. So I'm not downloading, already it is there actually. So you can download the PuTTY-Gen actually. Okay, so this is what it is. Or else PuTTY download for PuTTY-Gen latest download. Here we can go. Anywhere can go. So you can download the PuTTY-Gen actually. Where is the official site, sir? You can give PuTTY download. There itself you will find PuTTY-Gen actually. PuTTY.org. If you have right here, you can download the PuTTY-Gen. Not this also. Where is it? Where is PuTTY-Gen, sir? Here. Sorry, here. This is what it is, sir. This is PuTTY you have to download, and if you come down, right, you will get a PuTTY-Gen like this. So I have to download for 64-bit x86 architecture. You can download this. So already I have downloaded it here in PuTTY-Gen. Okay. Now what is happening that using this PuTTY-Gen actually, I have to create the PPK file actually. So to do that actually, I have to click on this PuTTY-Gen, and here it is a PuTTY key generator there. That's PuTTY-Gen actually. Here what happened that you have something as a load actually. So I have to say load. When you say load, here you can give all. You can just specify the docker.pem because I want to create a PPK for the docker.pem itself. So you have to just select that file. Now what is happening that after that selected, you have to say it as a save as a private key. Okay, save as a private key. You have to just click on this. You have to say yes. So it has to create a PPK file. Now here you will select this, but here instead of PPPem, you have to give PPK. Now you could see that actually it has created a PPK file here. This is a PPK file. Okay. Now what you have to do that you have to come to this machine here. You have to just click on this master. Okay. Here you could see that it is a public IP address. You want to just copy it. And after that, you have to open a PuTTY session. Here you know that these are all the Amazon Linux. Amazon Linux by default, the user account is, the username is ec2-user @ and specify the public IP address. And here I will do one thing. I will go with the appearance. So basically I will just select 12 or 14 as a font. And then I will go to the color. I'll just select this foreground. And here what happened, you have an SSH auth actually. You have an auth. Click out here. Now this will, you browse it and you need to point to the PPK, docker.ppk file and say open. Okay, and say open. See, now you have logged into that machine as a EC2 user. See, you are logged in. Here you can switch to the root user. So I have logged into one machine here. Similarly, I have to log in one more machine. So I will just click on this and I will get the IP address. I need to get a public IP address, copy this. Now here again, open a PuTTY session. So give the EC2-user @ specify that IP address, public IP address. Go to the appearance, change the size of the font or the color, go to the color, just select the foreground as a default. And here come to the SSH, click on the auth, same thing. Okay, just browse it, click on this Docker APK and then open it. Now you are now logged into the second node. I mean worker one actually. Okay, now we are logged in. So I have to say switch to the super user like this. So this is what the first machine. This is master. Second, like that. Or else, what you can do that in the other way. What you can do that you do one thing. You open the PuTTY. Now here, what is happening is that you create one user with a name like this. You save some session like this. EC2-user @ Okay, fine. Now what is happening that I'm creating a user. Then I will go with an appearance, change this, give font as 14. Okay, change the color, default as a foreground, and go to the SSH. You go to the auth, select it here, select this. Okay, now what you do, you come to the session here. Now here you copy the same thing over here and then you save it actually. Once you save it, you could see that there is one entry has been made here. So I've saved it now. Now what is happening is that now come to the AWS console and go to the second working node, sorry. Take this public IP address and then what happened, launch the PuTTY. You need not to do anything. You have to just click on this and say load. Now here only you have to give Just mention, paste the IP address, and that's open. Because you have created a session itself. Like, see here, now you are able to log into the machine. Now it will become easy now. So like this way, you can set it very fastly. So that now again in the last node, worker 3 node, I want to log in it, public IP address, copy it, go to the putty, click on it, say load, and just paste this public IP address and say okay, open. Just switch to the. Till here, are you clear, sir? Did you understood how I'm logged into all the 4 machines? You understood, right? How from the puttygen you have created the PPK file, right? From the puttygen. So from the puttygen, you have created the PPK file. Why we need a PK? Why we need PPK file? Because putty uses the authorization with the PPK file itself. It doesn't authorize you the .pem file. .pem file is basically through your bash shell. You know, like even I can able to log into the machine by this way also, right? You have seen, right? Right. If I come here, suppose if I go it here, I'll do a connect here, and then I will copy this. And you know very well, I'll go here, and under the download, I have the pem file docker.pem. Here I'll do a right click, and here you do a git bash here. You saw that, right? All previous sessions and all, we used to log into the stuff in this way only, right? With this way we used to able to log in. So here what happened, it will take time. Yeah, here you just paste it like this. See, I'm able to log into this machine like this. So here again I'll do a switch. See, now I'm in router. Same thing, but here what happened, right? I'm doing through a putty. So putty requires the PPK file. So to convert the PEM to the PPK file, you need a puttygen software. That's what I downloaded here, right? I have downloaded, and through this I created this PPK file. Is it clear, sir? Clear? Is it clear?
Yes, Rajesh bhai, I'm good.
Okay. So now you understood like how we can log into the machine now. So now our basic requirement is that if you see the diagram, it see that whenever you want to have a Docker swarm, in each and every node you have to install the Docker package. You need to enable. You need to start the Docker service and you need to enable. So let us do that actually now. So what I have to do that? You have to say yum install docker -y. I need to install the package. So what it says that it doesn't have. Okay, in the Amazon Linux actually, the Docker is provided with this command actually. So basically, you can copy this command. Okay, and you can give like this. Okay, so you're installing the Docker package like this. So let me do one thing. Let me copy this. Okay, and I will try to run in other node the same command like this. So through this command, I'm able to install the Docker. Clear, sir? So I'm installing the Docker in all the 4 nodes. So let us see Docker is installed or not. Yes, the Docker is installed here. Now the Docker is installed. Yeah.
I think there is a lag in the sharing the screen. You can see your 21.97.
Same, sir, same.
Oh, same.
Yeah, same only. Now the Docker is installed, sir. So Docker is installed. Now I have to start the service. So systemctl start Docker. Okay, I have started service. Systemctl enable Docker. You know very well all these commands. Docker info command. So you could see the output. So when you get this output, it means that Docker is installed. Similarly, go to the next node. So Docker is installed. What you run? You do a systemctl start. You need to start the Docker service, right? So to run the systemctl start Docker, same thing. Systemctl enable Docker like that. Enable Docker. So these are all basic requirement, right? We have to start the service. Systemctl start Docker, then systemctl enable Docker. Yeah, once you do run this command, make sure that you have to run this Docker info command to make sure that you are getting a proper output here. Similarly here also, Docker info. Okay, now Docker is installed and it is running successfully here. Even similarly in the last node also, Docker package is installed, but you need to start the service. You have to say systemctl start Docker and systemctl enable Docker, like that. Clear, sir? Now what happened, right? Now we have installed all the Docker packages and started the in service and enabled the service. Yeah, now we have all these 4 machines perfectly we have with us now. Now, what you have to do that actually, now I have to initialize the swarm actually. It means that any one node, I have to make it as or consider as a master node. How you will make a node as a master node? Wherever you run this command, Docker swarm init, right, that machine will become a master. So now, if I take this machine, so I will, because I've already given a name as here master, right? In here, you could see that I've given the name as a master, right? So this is a machine which I have logged in here. This is the first machine. I will make this machine itself as a master. So I have to initialize the swarm now. So to initialize the swarm, sorry, I think I have, hold a second. No, I think I have, okay, what happened? Swarm inactive. Okay, I think I will close the session. I will open one more time the same session. Okay, so here 97, basically you have to understand this. 97 is nothing but your master node. I mean, we'll make this as a master node, right? So here what is happening that you have, so to do that, what you have to do that, you have to run a command docker swarm init. See, if you run this command, sir, now you could see that say swarm initialize current node is now a manager or it's a master. You can even use the name as master or manager, both are same actually, but in Docker terminologies we call it as a manager actually, and other will be a worker nodes like this. Now you could say that this machine has become a master now. Now to add a worker to this swarm, run the command. It means that to make the other node, basically to make this other 3 nodes as a worker node, you have to run this command, sir. So what I will do, basically I will just copy this and I will keep it in our notepad so that I should not lose that command. So I copied it. So here what is happening that to make what it says, to make other as a working node, you need to run this command in the other nodes. So now anyhow, this machine has become a master now, right? So let me run one command known as something as a docker node ls. Just see, okay. So this is a machine. See, you could see that this is IP address, right? This is IP address. See, you could see that 172.31.21.972. This becomes what it says. This node has joined as a swarm as a worker node. Now, if I come back to the master, and here if I say docker node ls, can you see that? See, already one master is there, which has already been initialized. It means that even this acting as a master, this also acting as a working node itself. See, one more node has joined the class swarm cluster, and now we could see that this is an active state, and this is the IP address. If you see here, see 172.31.28.54, you could see here the same IP address here.
Sir, I think lag is there, or is it with me? Someone else also, please confirm.
What lag?
Because I'm seeing the We have initialized the Docker Swarm, right? That window only I'm seeing 21.97, that page.
Okay, this one. What about others? Are you able to see my shift from one node to other node, or how is it?
Yeah, we are able to see.
Ashish,
We are
there
able
could be
to
a
see that.
problem from your end.
I'll,
No, network, there should be a
I'll,
problem.
I'll rejoin.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So now what is happening is that here, so you have made this as a master and you have been executing this command. So this command will make sure that this becomes as a worker node. When I go to the master again, when I execute a command docker node ls, it is also showing that even this node has been added into the Docker Swarm cluster. Okay, and this acts as a working node. Similarly, what is happening that I will take the same command and I will execute the same command in the other two nodes also. Like here, I will execute. So this say that it acts as a working node, and even here also I will just execute that command. Okay, sorry, I think I have to run the command. Copy paste it, and I'll run in the other node, third node. Okay, now if I go to the master and if I execute the command now, docker node ls. Now you could see that actually that there are 4 nodes it is showing, and one node will be called as a leader, which is nothing but the master node, and the IP address is 97. It's the same IP address, right? What you are seeing here. It means that this machine itself is a master node. Now, can I run the same command in the other worker node? Let's see if I'm able to run docker node ls. See what it says. Error response from the daemon. This node is not a swarm manager. Worker nodes cannot be used to view or modify the cluster state. Please run this command as a manager node or promote this node to a manager. It means that being a worker node, you don't have an authorization to run this command. If you still want to run this command or execute this command, we need to promote this node as a manager. Okay. Similarly, what happened at here also? I'll go same command I'll run. See, here also the same message it's getting that you cannot run the command. It means that whatever the commands are there, Docker Swarm commands are there, that can be executed only by the master. Nodes, worker nodes cannot execute those commands. It doesn't have that permission. So Docker node ls, same thing. Now, we could say that, okay, fine, Rajesh, that's fine. You're saying it as a master and these are the working node, but how you prove or how you say that this is actually a node and this is a master? So to do that, what you can do that, you can do a docker node. I can give a inspect, and here you could see that this is an ID actually. So let me do this, let me copy this ID like this. So if you run it, so if you inspect it, we could see at the top there is a label role known as a master. So through that, you will understand that this node is a master actually. Similarly, if I do a docker node ls, okay, this apart from this, the other 3 are worker nodes. But how you will confirm it actually? To confirm it, you have a docker node ls. So docker node inspect and specify this ID. See? Here, if you see the label, you come down, you could see the label. See here, the role is it's a worker node. Okay, that's all. So with the help of the inspect, you will get to know who is a master and who are all the worker nodes. Clear, sir? This is the interview question they will ask, one of the interview question. So they'll ask you that how you confirm whether a particular node is a master or a worker node. You have to say, you have to first to execute the docker node ls. Through the docker node ls, you will get to know about the docker node ls, you will get to know about the IDs, and you can inspect that ID and you can see the label actually. At the top of the output, you can see that there is a label known as a worker. Through that, you will get to know which is a worker node, which is a master node. Is it clear, sir? Okay. Now what is happening that here you could see that now when I executed the command here docker node ls, you could see that it says that this node is not a swarm manager. worker node cannot be used. It say that please run this command or the manager node or promote it actually. So it means that suppose assume that this is my master sir which is running, and you could even see that this is the leader or the master, and you could even see it as a star here actually. So it star also signifies that this node is a master node actually. But now you say that Rajesh, I want even this node, this IP address 172.31.220.54, like here 54. Where is it? 54. Yeah, even this also I want to make it as a master, sir. So that's what you recommend. I would say that Rajesh, I want even the other node also to make as a master now. So how you will do? So you will say that Docker, okay, Docker node ls first. I'll say Docker node promote and specify this ID. See, now it says that what Docker, this node has been promoted as a swarm. Now you say Docker node ls. Now you could see that this also becomes a master. Now you would say the status of the manager is that it is reachable. Now can I run the Docker node ls here? Earlier you are getting this error. Now can I run this command, same command? See, now you are able to execute the command here also. So it means that whichever the node which you want to make it as a master node, other node, you can just you can come to the your main master and you can run the command Docker node, make it as a promote and specify the ID, sir. Okay. So now what happened that you have made that as a master now. That's what you can go and run it. Now, if you say that no, Rajesh, I want to demote it actually, you can say same thing. Docker node demote means you want to demote it, and this is what ID, right? This ID, same ID. Okay. So you could see that you have removed from the master. Now again you said Docker node ls. Now you could see that you have been removed. Now it is not showing as a reachable. Now again go back to this same first node. Now execute the command Docker node ls. Now you are not able to execute this command. Clear, sir? Is it clear, sir? Okay. Okay. Now assume that actually you say that okay, now this is my, these are all the Swarm cluster nodes actually, and you say that Rajesh, one of the node I want to remove from the cluster itself actually. It means that I want to remove from the cluster itself. It means that I don't want one node to be there. I want only the 3 nodes. It means that I want only one master and one worker node and worker 2. And worker 3, I don't need it. It means that I don't need this third machine at all. This worker 3, I don't need it. So let us check what is an IP address of the worker 3. If you go and check to the worker 3, it says that the IP address is, you can see it 172.31.020.136. And if you come here, can you see that here this is 136? It means that this is the node, third node. It means that this is the server actually. If you come here and if you execute the ifconfig command, you could see that this is the machine actually. So you say that this machine I don't want it actually. It means that I want to remove this machine out of from the clustered node. So in that way, what you can do that here you can come to this server, and what you can do, you can execute a command Docker swarm, and you can say a command as a leave. Docker swarm leave. Okay. What it says, it has left the node actually. Now come back here. Now execute the command Docker node ls. It is still saying ready. You could see after some time it will come to the down status. See, now it has come to the down status. So it means that here in this node, you have made as a Docker swarm leave so that it has left it. See, if you execute the Docker swarm leave, it has left the Docker swarm. Now, if you execute the Docker info here, okay, if you execute the Docker info here, can you see here? Where is that swarm actually? See, swarm, it has become an inactive state. If you see in the other node, suppose you execute this command, because these are all the part of the cluster. If you execute Docker info, you could see that actually that swarm is in active state here. Here also, swarm is in active state. But when you left this node with the help of a Docker Swarm leave, right? Docker Swarm leave, you left the cluster, and if you execute Docker info, here it is showing it as a what? It is showing it as inactive. Oh, it means that it is not a part of the cluster, Swarm cluster now. So that's the reason what is happening, that here you could see the status has become down now. Now what happened, right? You want to remove that node. You can say that Docker node rm and specify this ID. See, you have removed the node now. Now if you execute Docker node ls, see, now it has out of the Swarm cluster node, right? So now you have made that node itself, you have removed it. To remove it, you have to first go and run a command Docker Swarm leave in that node, and after that come back to your master node and execute a command Docker node rm remove and specify that ID. So it will get removed. Now again you say, Rajesh, I want to again initialize it, or again I want to again I want to make it as a part of the node. No problem. You go to that server, go to this server, and then copy the same. You have to again run this join command, Docker Swarm join. Same command you have to use, sir. Copy, and then here you have to just paste it actually. Now again it becomes a part of the node, part of the Swarm. Now again come back here, just say Docker node ls. See, again it has been added. Earlier it was 3, right? Now we consider the other one more, this 136, again it has been added now. Again I can go the same thing here, Docker Swarm leave. So you left the cluster, and again if you execute Docker info, you see that it has become inactive. Come back here into the main node or the master node, Docker node ls. See, it is still in a ready state or an active state. Now it will become a down state. See, it has become a down state. Now we can remove it actually. Docker node rm specify this ID. This is how, sir, you have to remove it actually. Now again say Docker node ls. Now it has been removed. Clear, sir? Sir, is it clear? Till here, are you
Yes,
okay?
sir. Yeah, I'm good, Rajesh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sir, good. So here token, right? Docker Swarm join -FN token, specify the token. I'm able to give the token here to rejoin this third node again, right? Now I'm giving this token to rejoin it. Assume that you have forgotten the token itself. You say that, Rajesh, I have forgotten, there is no token now. I have not maintained in my notepad. Now how I can generate the token? So I need to, so you to generate a token or to know the token, you have to always go to your master itself, sir. Then you have to run a command Docker Swarm Swarm join hyphen token, specify it as a worker. Actually, see, now you could see that this is the same token. You can copy it, come here and run that same. See, like that. Similarly, I want to create a token of the manager itself actually. Manager itself. So same command, sir, Docker Swarm join token. I think here you have to give them as a manager, if I'm not wrong. See, this is the token for a manager. Suppose you say, Rajesh, I want to promote any one node as a manager, right? Another node as a manager. So you can copy this and you can even paste it here. See here. Here. Now again, this node is already part of use Docker Swarm leave. Docker Swarm join token. What is it? Token manager only? No, manager or master? Manager only, correct. Now come here, Docker node ls. Okay. Docker node worker, Docker Swarm join token manager, correct. It's the same only, right? Same thing it is showing, right? Docker swarm join hyphen token manager. Same thing, sir, it is showing. Same thing it is showing. See, if you compare, right, with this worker, it's the same string actually. So that's the reason I'm not able to do it. I'm not able. This is already a part of the node, so that's all. So you cannot do. I think we can only do with the Docker node promote actually to promote that node as a manager. So for Docker node ls, I want to make other node. Suppose I want to make this node as a manager also. So you have to say Docker node. You have already seen promote and specify this ID. So you have promoted as a manager. Okay, now it has become a manager. So wherever you have 60, 164, where is 164? This is, so here it will run the command. Okay, now it will run the command. Okay, so again, I want to demote it. I have to say Docker node demote. I don't want to make it as a manager. You can just say demote and specify this ID. So you will remove from that manager. Docker node ls, sorry, Docker node ls. So you could, now you have removed that node. Clear, sir, till here. So this was just a basic, sir. What we did here, after the explanation about the Docker Swarm, right? We just tried to do some practicals. It means that we created some 4 machines, and what we did, we tried to install the package, enable it, and we try to run some commands here to make sure that actually how you can actually check how to initialize the swarm and how to make other as a worker node and all, and how you can play with some of the things like how to understand whether which is a worker node or which is a manager. So we did an inspect onto that ID, right? We did a Docker node ls and all. So this is what we did till here. Okay, sir. Sir, is it fine, sir? Till here? Okay. Now, shall we extend another 15-20 minutes, sir, so that I will cover few important things, because in the evening also again we have to continue the Docker Swarm itself, because Docker Swarm is a very big topic actually. So you need a lot of time. You need around 1.5, not 1.5, 3 hours. You need to complete the Docker Swarm itself. Okay, so I just give me another 20 minutes so that I will try to complete a few more things. Okay, is it fine with you all, sir?
Okay.
Yeah. So just give me a minute, sir. I'll have water and come. Okay, sir. Yeah, I'm back. Now, see, so this is all the setup part and everything, that is fine now. But our main intention is that actually I need to create a containers, right? That's what our main motto, right? We need to create a container, and all those containers has to be in the under the Docker Swarm clusters, right? That's what our main intention is, right? Now to do that, actually, what happened that so I need to create some kind of a containers, correct? I need to create a containers. Now, if you say, Rajesh, this is my node, this is my master node. Suppose you say that, Rajesh, I want to create a container. So what I will do, basically, I'll go here. I'll just say Docker, you know very well, Docker container run hyphen IT, right? And hyphen of a name. Suppose like something like web server, correct? And after that, what you give? I can even give the port. If you want to do a port mapping, you can do like this, as well as then later you give something like a image name. Now, this is what it is, right? Whenever I want to create a container, so I will run a command docker container run -it and blah, 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 and provide it the image name. It could be a customized image, or it could be an image which you are pulling from the Docker hub, right? Now, if you do it actually, what happened? This container will get created only in this machine only, right? In the master node only. So you're running this container here. You're running the command here in this master, sitting it here. But that will only create the container here only, right? What about in the other nodes? It means that I have to copy the same command. I have to copy the same command like this, run in all the other 3 nodes also like this. But that is not the right way, right? That's not practically. Suppose assume that you have 100 nodes like this. You have 100 nodes like this. Do you think that in all the 100 nodes I'll go and I'll copy paste and run the command to create a container, right? So that's not the correct way, right? Correct. So that's the reason what happened, right? Docker provides something known as a service actually. So what Docker does, Docker provides something known as a service. Now, what is that service? Now you will say that, see, if you execute a command, something like, suppose you say, Rajesh, now I want to create a container, but that container should be even be running in all the other nodes also. It means that I need some kind of a replicas of the same container. I want to have a same replica of the same container. Now you will say that, Rajesh, you'll say Docker service command, and you will say that, Rajesh, I want to create it actually. So Docker, see, you're doing this in a master, sir. Make sure this is the master, sir. Okay, you can even note down in somewhere in the notepad that this, okay, this IP address is a master. Okay, this is the same machine where I'm running. So you need to run a command here like this, Docker service, okay, and specify options to create. Here you are creating what you are creating. Here something like, let me give the name of what I'm creating. Name something like a web server. Okay, and specify the image name Nginx. Nginx. Now, basically, what you're doing, right here, you are running an Nginx, but the stuff is that when you run this command, it will create a container with the name Nginx, but only one container will get created. So what you say that, Rajesh, I want a replicas actually. So you have to say -FN replicas space, specify the number. I need 4 replicas, sir. Okay, I need 4 replicas. It means that I want 4 replicas. Okay, I'll just run it like this. Just see the output. Now, if you run this command, Docker service create -mm web, you see, you're trying to create 4 tasks. It means that you're trying to create 4 containers. Okay, so it has been created now. Now, if you execute a command, Docker service and say ls. So what it says that this is the service ID. Okay, fine. The name of the container is a web server. That's what you are given here, web server. The mode is replicated. It means that you have created a replicas of those 4 containers. And replicas of 4. Here you could see the 4-4. What is 4 means? 4 is a desired actually. It means that I need always 4 containers to be running under my Docker Swarm cluster. And this is what 4 is running. Desired is 4 and the running is 4. And what is the image or what is an application which is running? Nginx. So it is showing as a Nginx latest. Now, if I execute, so this is what it is now, but how you will get to know where and all these 4 are running, or the 4 containers are running? You can execute a command Docker service. You can execute the PS and specify that service ID, sir, like this. If you run it, you could see that all these Nginx are running in all the 4 nodes. See, it is running in this machine, 97. So you know that this 97 machine is a master node. Oh, in the master itself, in the master also, one of the containers is running. Similarly, here also it is running, sir. It means that 54. What is that 54? If you check it, 54 is this machine. That this is a working node 1. Oh, even in working node 1 also it is running. Okay. Even in the working node 2 also it is running. And in working node 3 also it is running. So it means that in all these 4 nodes, right, master, worker 1, worker 2, here what is happening that here the Nginx container is running in all these 4 machines. It is running. Even if you want to still, if you have a confusion, you can go to that node and you can run a command docker container ls. See, it will show you that Nginx is running. Similarly, here also you can go and you can run a command docker container ls. See, here also it is running. Similarly, here also it is running, sir. Docker container ls. Okay, I'm sorry. Docker container ls. See, it is also running. Similarly, here also, sir. This is a master node, but let me execute the command docker container ls. I want to just cross verify where it's running on. See, here also it is running. Clear, sir? It means that whatever the replicas I created, right, with this command, docker service create, specify the replicas, and given the 4 number, it has created a 4 containers, and all those 4 containers are divided across all the nodes. Even it has even created in the master also, because I'm not specifying any condition over while creating it. So it means that what it will understand that, okay, let me create all the 4 containers and let me place it in all the 4 nodes like this. So that's what it has created. This nodes, this contain all the 4 nodes. Clear, sir? Till here? Now what is happening is that again the same thing, docker service ls, to just show what are the services which are running. It means that Nginx is one of the service which is running. Okay, the image service and the name is web server which is running. To want to check more on that, you have to say docker service ps and specify this ID. Now it will show you that these 4 replicas, wherever in which and all node it is running. You want to get more details, means you have to run the command docker service ps and specify the ID. Clear, sir? Now you see what I will do. See, I'll do an experiment here now. Now I'll say docker, okay, just see what I'm doing. Docker service ls. So I'm running this command. Let me do a thing. Let me make it under watch, because I want to make it always running. So here, okay, running. Now, if you come to the first node, this 54 node, if I execute a docker container ls, now you could see that this container is running now. Let me do one thing. Let me open a duplicate session of the same container. See, I'm opening a duplicate container. So log in into the root. Okay, log in into the root. Okay. And after that, if I execute a command docker container ls, the same container is running here. Okay. Here, what I will do, here also I will make it as a under watch. So now what I did here for this I made as a watch. The same duplicate session I have one more duplicate session of the same session of this here over here, and this is my master which is running. Actually, you could see that docker service ls. Now what I will do here, right? What I will do here, if you execute docker container ls, now you could see that this container is running. This is a container ID. Now what I will do, I will say docker container rm-f. I'm removing this container, sir. So once I remove this container, you just see the behavior. This has gone here, and this you could see that it has come to the 3 here. It means 1 has gone down. You could see that within a fraction of a second, one more container has been recreated. Now you could see that again the container is created the same node. It means that you have tried to kill the container here, but if you see it, the desired state, when the desired state is 4, but what happened? What has happened, right? What happened, right? It has one container has gone down. That's the reason it is showing as a 3 here, right? And again, after some time, it recreated, because why it is doing it? Because here it is having a 4. It means that the desired state is 4, because in one of the node you have removed the container. It will try to recreate it. It means that it expects always the 4 to always be running. So it means that it has recreated again one more container on the same node itself. It could be in the same node or it could be a different node. Here it has created the same node. It means that it always creates, or it will always maintain the desired status of the container. Here, if you have 4 means it will always keep it as a 4 only, like that. So here you could see that same thing. I'm doing Docker container ls. So here what happened, right? Again, here you have kept on the you have kept a watch onto the container status. That's what you have execute the command watch docker container ls. Now if you come here over here, okay, over here, and again if you execute the docker container rm-f and specify this id. Now you could see that the container has been killed here. You come here, you could see that it has gone to the 3 because one container has been killed. After some seconds, see again it come back to 4. Now again, if you could see that, see one more, you could see that it has created new containers. See what is this container? Newly created container ID is C885. What was earlier which I killed? It is C4DC. Something I have some other container ID I have removed it. Now it has recreated a new container. So in this way, what is happening is that even though the container has been killed, it will get recreated so that it has to maintain the desired value or desired state, you have to say. Clear, sir? So this is very, very important, sir. What we have discussed now, it means that. So now what is happening is that all the 4 nodes, one containers are getting created. If you kill this container, again what is happening is that it will get recreated. You have seen now. If you kill this, again it will get recreated in the same server or in the same node, or it will be different. Now, okay, fine. What we'll do now? Okay, let me do one thing. Okay, this is the node 1, sir. This is the node 1, correct? This is the worker node 1. Worker node 1. See, 197 or private is 54, right? Here the private is 54. Let me do one thing, sir. Let me power off the machine itself. See, you have powered off the machine, sir. The machine is gone. Okay, here also. See, the machine is gone. But you could see that the machine is gone. I could have shown it. It has shown 3 here, but again, what happened is recreated. Now, where it has recreated now? Where it has recreated? It is showing as a 5. You wait for some time to come back to 4 only. Okay. Now, if you see, this machine has been stopped now. Now, what is happening that if you come here, if you say Docker service ls, it will show as a 5, but it is not 5. You can see after some time it will come back to 4 only. Okay, it will come to 4. So now what is happening that let me see whether the container has been created here. No, it is here, only 1 is there. So I'm just trying to see whether the container has been shifted to or recreated in some other node. See, it is here only. Okay, this is here, it's not been created. Here also it is not been created. Okay, fine. I think it should have been created in the master only. So Docker container ls, see, it has recreated here, sir. Clear, sir? That means that whatever the container which was running the worker node, because the worker node got crashed, assume that the system, we have stopped it, we have powered off it, but in the real scenario, assume that it has been crashed or it has come down due to some. So what happened, whatever the container which was running the worker node 1.1, that has been recreated in the master node here. That's what you could see, that there are 2 containers we are running now. So again, if you execute Docker service ls, Docker service ls, it will come, it will take time, sir. It will take some time. It will come out, it will show us a 4x4 itself again. You don't have to worry. Replica is 4 only, because we need a desired state of 4 only. We create a replica 4. The desired state is 4. So 4 only it should show. So or else you can say Docker service ps and specify this ID. Okay. So it is shut down. Don't worry about this one. You could see that it is running. So 4 it has recreated. See, it has just created about a minute. It means that this Nginx has been recreated in the same machine 97, which is nothing but in the master itself, running about a minute ago, like that. Right? Again, if I execute Docker service ls, It will take some time, sir, but it will come back as a 4 itself. Just in some time, it will come back. Still here, clear, sir? Okay, I'll see that. Okay, it will come back, sir. You not to worry about this. Okay. Now what I'll do again, I'll come back here. So it has been stopped. Let me do one thing. Let me start that machine. Let me start that instance. So it doesn't mean that, see, it doesn't mean that if this machine comes up, the container will get moved from the master to the other, it will not, it's not like that. See, it has come back now actually. Now let me go to the master. When I said Docker node ls, see, it was down itself. See, now it has come to ready state. See, 54 was down. Now it has come to ready state because again it has rejoined the cluster actually. So as soon as this machine comes, rejoin the cluster. Now, if I click on this, let me log into this machine. Now it has got a different public IP address. So click on this. If I log into that machine, worker node 1, so just say sudo root. Now, if I do of course, I cannot run the Docker node ls. It will not work, right? If I execute the command, let me check if there is any container running over here. So if I check it, there's no container running, sir. It means that this machine has come up, but it doesn't mean that the contents which are running in the other nodes or the content which was created, new content which was created in a master, it will go to get moved to this node. It's not like that. It will not happen. It means that still this node is free now. Actually, it's free now. It means that tomorrow or after some time you create some more new services. Those services will come here actually. Clear? Now come back here into your master node. So if I execute Docker node ls, it's working, or Docker service ls. Now you could see it has come back now to the normal state. Okay. Now what is happening is that actually this node doesn't have any container. This node, yes, there are 2 containers which are running. Now you say that Rajesh, I'm having only 4 containers, right? Docker service ps and specify this ID. You said that there are 4 nodes or the 4 contents which are running. I want to scale up, sir. I want to scale up to 12. Now the load has become more now because more and more connections are coming. With 4 containers, I cannot suffice the need. I want to scale it up actually. To scale up, how to do that? We have to say Docker service scale. Okay, before that, Docker service ls. And if I say Docker service scale, I have to give and specify this ID and give it as a 12, sir. Okay. Now what you're doing, you're scaling up your container, sir. Now what is happening? Earlier there were 4 containers. Now you could see that Docker service ls. Now you could see that there are 12 containers which are running, sir. Now if you execute Docker service ps and specify this ID. See how many containers are running. Correct? So if you come back to this server, here if you execute the Docker container ls, see here what happened, right? Earlier nothing was there because this server came up. Now there are 3 containers which have been created here. Similarly here also, see 3 containers are created here, or 3 or 4, whatever, 3 are there. See 3 are there. See, so out of 12 containers which I gave, right? I gave as a 12, right? Docker container, where is it? Here. See, Docker service scale specify. I have given a 12. It means that in all these 4 nodes, sir, in all these 4 nodes, it has been divided as a 333 like this. 3 containers are getting created like this. Here also 333. Here also 333 containers like this. Like this it has been created. It means that the containers again it has been equally divided across all the nodes, even master also, because master also acting as a working node. So till here, are you clear, sir? If you say, Rajesh, I don't want the 12 containers, I want to scale down to 4, no problem, same command you have to give. Instead of here, you have to give 4 here. Right, sir? Now, if you go Docker service ls, see, now it has come back to the 4. Again, same thing, Docker service ps, specify this ID. See, you have come back to the, see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. Clear, sir? I think we will stop it here. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. Open to the questions, sir. Open to the doubts questions. Sir, did you understood? We just started now, sir. There are a lot of things are there because I'll be showing a real scenario now, like how exactly this helps a lot in the production environment, right? And how we can have an application. So we'll have one application, our own application, and we can do it. See here now, for example, here now you could see that actually these containers are running here, right? Now these containers are running. I will show the port mapping, then we will understand it. We will continue in the evening today again, so that you will get to know everything. So once I show the port mapping, right? Once I explain about the port mapping, you'll get to know. Clear, sir? Okay, sir. I think we can stop the session. Any one of you can stop the session so that